Why are you sitting there all alone? That man swears a lot. That girl has some issues. She never talks to us. Why are you sweating so much? Why are you so nosy? He can never learn to sit in one place. Is he always this quiet? Mental health, one of the most neglected areas of public health, and the one which needs maximum attention, as physical illness is very much visible, but not mental illness. Hence, we observe World Mental Health Day on 10th October to raise awareness of mental health issues around the world and mobilize efforts in support of mental health. And when it is about mental health, how can Anon remain silent? So here we are. A very happy evening to all of you. I, Anuradha, on behalf of Anon Global Foundation, welcome you all to today's conversation. Unshackle the mind, liberate. Because we believe what mental health needs is more sunshine, more candor, and more unashamed conversation. So today we're lucky to have in the panel with us Ms. Melissa Maria, Principal, Global Indian International School, Smart Campus, Pangol, Singapore. Ms. Melissa has over 25 years experience in the field of education and administration in reputed schools in Mumbai, Oman, and Singapore. She is a Master of Arts, History with a scholarship from the Mumbai University and the Bombay Catholic Sabha, as well as a state topper. She possesses Bachelor's in Education and pursued an educational leadership program from the Center of Education Management and Development, New Delhi, as well as educational management program from SNDT College, Mumbai, India. She has done an IB course in well-being and student leadership and an academic leadership suite, which is a 10-week program from Harvard X and Eureka, UK. We welcome you, ma'am. It is lovely to have you on board.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and to share the platform with esteemed guests and the students. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
So are we, ma'am. We welcome Ms. Nandita Sunkara, the Vice Principal, Delhi Public School, Nacharam, Sikandrabad. She has spent 25 years in the field of education. She's an MA in English, MA and MPhil Anthropology from University of Hyderabad, and a scholarship holder in university. She has been an integral part of various reputed schools throughout her career. She has interviewed various famous personalities like Mr. Shashi Tharoor, Mr. Kapil Dev, the cricketer, Mrs. Sheila Dikshit, our ex-CM, New Delhi, and many more. She has won many awards as an educator and has published various articles in educational journals, magazines, and newspapers. It is a great pleasure to have you here, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And it's an honor to be there associated with Anon on this platform. Looking forward to be along with the esteemed speakers and our young generation there.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us your time. We also welcome Ms. Suruchi Saini, a state and national board certified licensed professional counselor, a tele-mental health provider, a certified clinical trauma professional, and certified yoga teacher in New Jersey, USA. For over 16 years, she has been helping and empowering people through her workshops and motivational speaking on evidence-based research in psychology and neurosciences, along with philosophy of mind, yoga, and Ayurveda. It is a pleasure to have you on panel, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Anuradha. It's a pleasure to be here and with everybody. I'm looking forward to learn and share with everyone. Let's see how it goes. And my best wishes to everyone and greetings to viewers. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have our student volunteers, Riddhi Chaudhary, Vidhi Yadav, and Aditya Sharma, representing children from around the globe. And they would love to get the discussion started on mental health. Without further ado, let's begin the exchange of wisdom. Students, the stage is all yours. You can begin your questioning.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Riddhi Chaudhary, a student of class 11th. I would like to ask my first question to Melissa ma'am. For students like us, academic pressure and competitiveness, I believe it's a pretty big issue. We begin to stress a lot over our exams, over our scores. So, what do you suggest we can do to stay motivated, to stay calm, even if we score less after immense hard work?
Firstly, let me congratulate you, Riddhi. You're doing a fantastic job. And I'm sure your friends, Vidhi, and your other friend will do well. So, when we talk about the word competition, I'm reminded of an article that I read from Josh Newbert. He said that he wrote this article about where competition actually enhances learning. So I'll share 2 points before I say what I want to say about your question. He has said that to help students increase their respect for academics and interest in learning, it is important that they have heroes in the field whom they can look up to. And competition is the strongest way to do this. Now, we can learn from athletics, we have very specific evaluation on which our youth can easily see who is an expert in the field and who is not. And the second point he made, which impressed me, was educational competition in the K-12 setting. It provides students with safe scenarios in which they can practice skills. Students faced with tough challenges can learn how to pick themselves and try again when they fail. They can learn through their participation that failing to achieve the best marks is not the end of the journey, but just a stepping stone and an amazing learning experience. Now, what do I believe basically? I have always said this to my students. We have to look at ourselves as competitors. When we start looking at ourselves as competitors, we start visually putting forward our past and present performance and setting that goal for ourselves to become better in future. I think that is what's going to help us. So for the students who are on this panel and for the students who are watching, set a target for each exam and try to meet that. If you do, you can set the next target, which is say a +2 or 3 points more. Now the question is, if you don't meet it, what happens? Then you start working to that original target that you had set. My recommendation is avoid looking at other students' scores. You just keep working towards becoming better versions of yourself each day. So the key is sincere, dedicated, and focused hard work. And I'm sure you're going to emerge a winner. I hope I have responded well, Riddhi, to your question.
Yes, ma'am, of course. Because as a student, I also, have a habit of sometimes pulling all-nighters to get good scores in exams. When, I did that once and it barely got me passing marks. I was devastated back then. How can I worked so hard. But after listening to your advice, I feel like it has changed my perspective on that. I can maybe begin to see it as a learning experience. Thank you for the advice.
I also appreciate how you talk about learning and not just marks, because a lot of times, for us, education is starting, to sound more about marks than actual knowledge. So I appreciate you, telling our students here that, it is good to compete with yourself and to become, in your own unique journey, try to better yourself there rather than comparing yourself to other people, and how it is about learning and not just marks. That is great advice.
Absolutely.
Yes, moving on to our next volunteer.
Greetings, everyone. I am Aditya Sharma of class 11. And my first question is for Miss Suruchi Saini, ma'am. Ma'am, children hesitate to reach out to people when in need because mental health is not a topic that is freely talked upon. How can we educate people so that nobody is hesitant to get help when required?
Thank you, Aditya. That's a wonderful question. The first, I think what we need to do is, it's going to be a 50-50 in my point of view. At least that's what my experience tells me here in USA. that we are in a great need of adults around the children to know what needs to be done, and also children needs to go through some kind of workshops or educational literature in the school or even in the colleges, that to talk about mental health, to talk about having some difficulties, it's absolutely normal, and it has nothing to do with academia. It has nothing to do with their attitude. It has nothing to do with that their brain is not functioning, etc. Because I keep hearing these things that my child is not able to do it, or I hesitate to talk about it. So in a nutshell, we need to have an open dialogue at home, the way we even sometimes talk about, like, oh, I'm having a physical pain. Because when we talk about the anxieties or stresses, your brain is in a pain. It's a mental pain. So if we can talk about our physical pain, or if we need to watch a movie, why can't we talk about that, I'm not able to work, or I'm feeling stressed, etc. So it basically an open dialogue between adults around the children, whether at school, whether at home, and it will help a lot. Does that make sense?
Yes, really, ma'am. You've really enlightened us with the soothing way. And I hope that children of my age are not depressed and can truly talk freely about these topics. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm saying I like how you talk about open dialogue, because I think this is something, as a parent myself, that we need to open the dialogue between parents and children, so that when they're going through something, they should be okay communicating about it. And I love how brilliantly you've put it. And really, thank you for enlightening us about it.
Thank you. Can I just say one more thing? Along with parents, I think because we have some, wonderful principals here, this has to come from teachers and school, because teachers are also somebody's parent. So it cannot be like you can only talk about home. We can also do it in the schools, just like we talk about sports day or subjects, etc. Thank you.
In fact, I'd like to add here, I think it is the responsibility equally of schools to set up, communication channels and create that ambience where children feel comfortable, that they have somebody to listen to them. I think it's important that that kind of culture is created in schools. Yeah, and I'm proud
Awesome.
that my school has it. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Children should be seen and heard. Yeah, don't we want that all?
True. Yes.
Over to you, Vidhi.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Vidhi Yadav, and I'm currently studying in class 11. My question is for Ms. Nandita Sunkara, ma'am. At our age, we believe that looking good is of utmost priority. Ma'am, do you have any suggestions for teenagers who think confidence and good looks are associated?
That's a very wonderful question, Vidhi, and I think most apt for the teenagers of the day, especially in these tough times when you were within the four walls, and now that you've started stepping out, that is something which is, revolving around everybody's mind. Confidence is, believe me, everything. It's like, confidence is what makes that simple white tee and the jeans look great and good. And no confidence or minus the confidence, that's nothing. It's like, just something wrapped around. So confidence is something that's the game, and it is every game. Now, how do you start relating both is very important. Confidence is within the looks, and looks are within confidence. These are both interconnected, especially when it comes to teenagers. Sure, you have to first and foremost understand your strengths. I'm sure in your life skills classes, most often your life skills teacher, asks you, can you note down your strengths and weaknesses? And especially when you work on those strengths, that gives you a lot of confidence. And that is your inner beauty. And yes, when you were a kid, probably, how you looked was very, very important. But with maturity, this inner strength starts playing a very important role. You start discovering your inner strength, and that becomes a role model for you. And praising oneself is very important. Yes, that one look in the morning in the mirror and tell yourself, yes, you are going to rock and have a good day, brings a smile. And it's not the looks, believe me, it's the confidence that you carry. That's important. And my sincere advice to the younger generation would be, tell yourself, yes, I know. And that comes when you have a lot of skills in you. That confidence comes when you are multifaceted. Often I keep telling my students that gone are those days when they say, jack of all trades, master of none. But I would, turn into a new form and say that you have to be a jack of all trades, but master any one. You have to identify a lot of skills and appreciate. When you have knowledge of, a lot of things, you'll carry that confidence. And the beauty is in your mind. That's it. Beauty in how you portray yourself. And I think that coincides with the beauty and the looks, and that comes out of the confidence. Wishing you all the best, the younger generation there.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your answers, ma'am. Because I have seen a lot of my friends who don't take up things they really want to because they're not confident of how they will look on the stage, or they think they're not good enough for that. So I think this will really help them. Thank you so much, ma'am.
I love the jack of all trades, master of one, because it's, especially when students are going through their school, there's always a lot of focus on education, which is very important. And I completely agree with that. But also opening themselves to other experiences is very important. And I'm so glad that, we have teachers like you who are pushing students towards finding themselves, finding their strengths. It's really commendable. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Over to you, Riddhi.
I would like to ask this question to Suruchi ma'am. Emotional upheavals, disturbances that we face, and diving into toxic relationships, they can sometimes lead to several mental health issues and maybe even suicide. How can teenagers like us control the gush of emotions and rationally decide?
Thank you, Riddhi. So having some knowledge will be the first and foremost thing to know that, especially during the teenage, see, we have to understand the emotions that you are talking about, that during teenage, our brains are going through a lot of upheaval naturally. And it is very important to know that it is not only happening with one person. If I go and with confidentiality ask every single kid in the class, I can assure you about 80% of the people will feel that something is going on, because there is a lot going on during that age period, starting from 13 to 19, rather 21. So having a little bit of knowledge is very important. And like I said in the previous question, seeking help from teachers, parents, if there are counselors in the school, or life skills teacher can also come very handy, because I hope when they talk about, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, they are also talking about that brain is an important component, and this is how our brain works. And it takes few years to develop prefrontal cortex up to 25. So there is a lot happening. When it comes to, when you say that how can we control emotions so that, there are more mental health issues don't erupt. First of all, know yourself, right? Knowing yourself, like Nandita said, knowing your weaknesses, your strengths, and not only knowing, you also want to use them as a tool. So if you say that one of my strengths is like resilience, or if you say one of my strengths is that I have a very supportive family, that whenever you are feeling emotional upheaval, the first thing, let me go back. I think you mentioned that, I pull all-nighter, I still was not able to do it, right? I totally get it. I have done those things as well. But here is the quick tip on it. When we are pulling all-nighter, you want to make sure that every 2 hours you stand up or at least stretch yourself. Again, from bodies and brains perspective, we need to understand that when we continue to sit down or continue to study, our brain's efficiency starts to decrease, go down, go down, go down, almost nil. And then we try to grasp things, not going to happen. So emotions work the same way. If we are feeling something, don't allow yourself to continue to sit there for more than 30 minutes. Have a limit. 30 minutes, enough of this, let me step out. Go stand in a fresh air, talk to someone, use your skill, or self-reflect, journal. There are a lot of things that can be done. I probably will need an hour to talk about it, but quickly, you can do these things. Try it, and it really works. Just stand up, stretch yourself, relax, deep breathe, or I don't know, have a piece of chocolate, because that also helps, but I'm not recommending that. Probably parents are saying, stop. I hope I answer your question.
Yes, of course, ma'am. Different people have different kind of ways they cope and stuff. And it is especially important, I think, since the pandemic has happened, taking care of oneself and keeping our own emotions in check. I think it is one of an important skill to have. Thank you.
You're welcome. Pleasure.
I'm so glad she asked this question because, even as an adult, this kind of makes sense to me. It happens with me also. I'll fall into an emotional trap. I like how you brought the anatomical bit about the mind growing and, how we need a physical break. And then talking about how emotionally also we need a break. Because sometimes we're in that zone, you just keep stretching it. It would be great if we could, after half an hour, just get up and realize, okay, there's a lot more to life. That's such great advice. I'm so glad I'm moderating this event and I'm hearing such good advice from all of you esteemed panelists. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Over to you, Aditya. Yeah.
So my next question is for Miss Melissa Mane, ma'am. Ma'am, social media and technology has become one of the major addictions to teenagers today. With that comes peer pressure, identity crisis, isolation, and so on. The list is very long. What is your suggestion to the youth on this record?
Well, I have a slightly different, response to this question of yours. Personally, I've always believed that technology is an enabler. Technology actually is meant to assist us. It is to assist us become better, more informed, and productive. And I also believe that this generation is so adept. We were talking just before we began, how adept you all are. You use gadgets like we used to use pen and paper. So when we see students, at least at my school, when I see students on their phones and tablets and computers, I hold myself back from that conclusion that they are addicted. I believe it's their means of communication. However, to all the youth now who are listening, I would like to remind you that in so far as you use technology to enable you to do better physically, better mentally, better emotionally, perfect. It's good. The day you see yourself getting hooked to media, and that media is denying you physical and mental well-being. We just spoke just now, Ms. Suruchi was talking about physical movement. The day you see that you are sitting and it is preventing you physical, mental, and emotional, movement and well-being, it's making you lose your self-esteem, you're becoming negative, that is the time to tell yourself, stop. And if you cannot do it, I will go back to what Ms. Suruchi said. Reach out to all the empathetic seniors or adults in your environment. Avoid getting sucked into this hole of no return. There's another thing I strongly believe. every human being is blessed with inherent willpower and determination. All we need to do is activate those buttons and move forward. You know, we can overcome anything that we call addiction, is what I believe. Aditya, I hope that
Yes,
helps you.
sure, ma'am. And even in my surroundings, I have seen, and if I talk about my friends also, they're greatly influenced by social media to a deep level. And now I would, after this meeting, I would really suggest them to watch you and watch your answer, so that so that they can come out of this, because it's a great problem. If we,
But I also feel that, I mean, yes, it's a great problem, but it's also in our mind. If we can tell ourselves that we can overcome it, you know, I think we can do it. Yeah.
You reminded me of anecdote once. I was reading somewhere, and they say that every invention, it can be used for a good cause as well as for a bad cause, which is like nuclear energy. You can use it to produce electricity, and you can use it for terrorism. It is all in the mind. So, like you said, technology is a great enabler, and if we use it in the right way, it can do wonders for us. And if we don't, then it is also on us, and that will pull us down. So it is you have to decide whether you want to use it for a good cause or bad.
Anuradha, can I add another statement to it? Sorry, I think Melissa was talking.
No, go ahead, Suruchi. Please go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So in addition to what Melissa is saying, I just would like to alert everyone that when we use technology, we have to be very, very careful that the more we are continuously using it, and I'll give you a quick example, that if this is a sign, if you are addicted, if you are one of those people while you are doing your homework or assignment online and you have 1 minute and you are going on social media, you have half a minute you are going on social media or another electronic or something, that is a sign that you are hooked to it. Yes, we have the wisdom, we have the access to our wisdom or our core, but it is very much required that we are careful of that, because here in New Jersey, they did an experiment with all teenagers. Their phones were taken away from them for about 6 hours, right? And guess what happens? All of them had withdrawal symptoms equivalent to alcoholism. So it affects the brain. It affects up to a certain level that your day-to-day will change. But if it starts to change your brain, you really need to watch out. And withdrawal symptoms also means depression, anxiety, and a lot more. So I will leave it at that. Thank you.
Really, ma'am. Today, we are greatly honored to have such good mentors as you. Thank you so much.
Let not technology empower you. Let not technology overpower you. I think that's a wonderful message from Miss Melissa.
And that's an eye-opener, Miss Suruchi. I know that we're all getting addicted. Sometimes it's as simple as you go to the washroom, you take your phone along. I think that has to be an eye-opener for all of us.
True.
We're probably all addicted to our technology, and we probably all need to make a conscious effort to let it be an enabler and not let us overpower it.
Mm-hmm. Sure, absolutely.
Over to you, Vidhi.
My question is for Suruchi, ma'am. Stress, uncomfortable feelings due to a change, and nervousness, etc., are a few feelings which we confuse with anxiety and panic. So, ma'am, how can we consider these feelings as a normal part of our growing up?
Sure, that's a good question, Vidhi. Again, we as teenagers, it is very important to remember that all of you are in a learning phase. Well, for life, we are all in a learning phase. Even today is a learning phase for me, I'm sure for everyone. But as a teenage, because you have to understand in two ways. One, you are a student. That's part of your identity. Second, you are also an upcoming or budding human being. So at the time, your brain and bodies are also developing. So that's a lot of dynamics playing just within one person. right? So if you are fully aware of it, that I am going through all these changes at the similar time, some anxiety and stress is but natural. You can ask any adult. If even today, I have been working in this field for many years, if something new comes up, I would be looking forward to it because I love to learn so much anyways, but there will be an initial something in my head also that, oh, I don't know if I can do it. Let me try it. I'm going to try it. Let me ask questions. Let me seek help. Everything else comes. So first of all, it is very important to remember it is normal that when we are learning something, when we are developing in a certain way, there are going to be regular anxieties and stresses. But that does not mean that we cannot do something about it. And like Melissa answered so beautifully, I will say that the other part that we need to understand today, I will extend a little bit on that social media thing. It's not that we don't have the capacity to learn, but because of the a little bit of negative side of social media, our brain is very preoccupied. So having anxiety, having stress, normal. Not able to do something about it, there is something wrong. Why? Because our brain is so occupied by everything else. So what I'm going to suggest here is, first of all, have 10 to 15 to 20 minutes every single day without anything. No school, no family, no friend, no social media, nothing. Just you, your mind, your body, at the most your own journal. And see how it is playing and what you are feeling. And then ask the questions to the right people, whether that question is for a teacher, counselor, life skill person, doctor, therapist, etc. Right? So we need to have a targeted approach. And one thing I can tell you for all the young viewers, even parents, please have this in your household, that when you wake up in the morning, do not go to cell phone, do not switch on TV, do not switch on any kind of music unless or until it is soothing meditational music. Because music is very helpful when it comes to our brain waves, it settles them. But if we are listening to weird news, which is mostly, right, and fast music or something like that, our brain is going to spike. And when brain spikes, you need to understand, we release cortisol, stress hormone. We release a lot of chemicals that we do not want them. So stress, anxiety is a normal thing, but it depends how knowledgeable we are, what kind of coping skills we have, and what we are doing about it. Does that answer the question?
Yes, no, absolutely. I think it was very much needed for our generation because we faced a lot of change, especially during the time of the pandemic. Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome.
It made a lot of sense. And I like how you're talking about self-awareness, because sometimes with technology, we're making ourselves so busy that we're not finding time to see what we are going through. Yeah, an eye-opener, truly.
Absolutely. It's, Radha, sometimes we forget, all of us, adults, children, wherever, that yes, we have an emotional mind. I also call it monkey mind, according to science of mind yoga, right?
Yeah.
So we all have it, but we do have rational mind as well. So when emotional mind is trying to overshadow your rational mind, that's where the problem begins. If we can stay rational by using few coping skills and seeking help, oh, your rational mind will never ditch you. I can tell you that. Emotional mind will play you, will continue to swing and spike and everything. So stay rational.
I will definitely try to do that. Yeah, because I'm genuinely, for me also, I also have this habit, when you're in that emotional zone, to let the emotional brain overpower. It's like that angel and devil. So you have to let the rational mind kind of play there rather than letting the emotions overpower you. Yes. Great advice.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Pleasure.
Riddhi, over to you.
All right. Nandita ma'am, I've had a question on my mind for quite a while now. The pressure to perform in every field, from school, teachers, parents, our surroundings. they can tear down a child's self-esteem. How can we tackle all of the pressure? Is it maybe as simple as just believing in ourselves?
A wonderful question there, Riddhi. Let me tell you, nobody's perfect, right? I'm sure you heard this time and again. And also realize, dear children, that everyone makes mistakes. It's not just you alone. And when it comes to the parents, teachers, and your peer, there will definitely be expectations from each other. There will be a lot of expectations, and at times parents are very ambitious about you. And yes, that at times puts a lot of pressure on you, no doubt. But dear parents, all those parents who are watching, end of the day, I'm sure you should understand that nothing is precious than your child. And it's very important to talk to your parents, dear children. Share things with them. And you made a mistake, there's no harm in accepting and saying that, yes, I've done it. And you rectify that. It's very important. You need to have a role model, no doubt. You have to learn a lot of skills. Believe me, during this pandemic, and I'm sure you've learned a lot of new skills. There are these boys who've learned how to cook. And I'm sure, the things that you couldn't do it. And through this second medium, you won a lot of hearts, right? But I'm sure back in academics, if you've fallen down, you are definitely being questioned. Therefore, you have to regulate your emotions absolutely. You have to practice a lot of assertiveness. That's very important. You have to learn to accept a lot of challenges. Somebody pinpoints, let's say your peer group pinpoints some mistake in you, your parents, your teachers, accept it if it is truth. That's very important. Because remember, there is no one-stop solution at all to boost self-esteem. It's actually a journey, and you have to graduate at every level. And how does that happen? You obviously have to develop a lot of techniques to handle them. You have to develop those skills. You have to alternate yourself. Give that time to yourself. Keep your mental fitness, physical fitness. Both very important. Like Melissa ma'am and Suruchi ma'am has said, keep an alternative. It's very important. You give that little gap for yourself. For taking your eyes off technology, you need to give that gap to yourself for playing those positive reinforcement games. Spend a lot of bonding time. Talk to your teachers. Believe me, you just walk that one step. Teacher's going to hold your hand and walk miles together with you. You share your heart out. Yes, first reaction of your parents may be, a little bit of annoyance at you with your behavior. But believe me, having had trust in your parents, having spoken to them, the pressure gets eased out. So I think that would boost your self-esteem to a greater extent. So try doing that. I know teenagers like to share more things with their peer group than with the adults. Try doing it. I don't say no to it, but I think being more frank brings you much closer, and that little upliftment in your self-esteem will take you, will allow you to fly.
Thank you, ma'am.
I think, Riddhi, that answers your question.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I think I'm beginning to understand that, taking whatever opportunities you get, of course, in moderation, taking breaks for yourself, talking to your teachers, being more frank to your parents, all that. I think it's really, really important, because my mother too, she keeps on telling me to go and take part in this, take part in that, to expand my horizons. I am really beginning to feel like a rise in my self-esteem. Thank you.
And especially teachers are milestone stars that shine in the Milky Way, I think.
True.
I hope your teachers are watching that, Aditya. And I like how you've talked about everyone makes mistakes. I mean, and it's like a shout out to all teenagers. Yeah, even your parents can make mistakes. Try and communicate. I'm sure they are also open. I mean, and if they're not, I mean, you can probably conversing with them, telling them about yourself will definitely help. It will never have a backlash. If you're feeling something, sharing will always help. Take the help of your teachers, your counselors, and always talk to your parents. Like, your friends are there, even your parents should be considered as friends. You are soon going to be mature adults, so you might as well give a little more credit to your parents, and maybe somewhere accept that even they have your betterment as their main goal. They might make mistakes, accept it, try to get more open. That's all I'm trying to say. Try to get more friendly with your parents.
I think, Anuradha, it can again go both ways. I see that a lot. Sometimes I start, my individual sessions with children or teenager, and eventually they go to parents a lot. And I've done a lot of workshops for teachers and principals because it is needed, even in US. I'm telling everyone, don't think that everywhere it's only happening in India, even though here as well, it's very common where parents do not have time or ability to understand what our own kid is going through. And if parents are watching this program, I have only one single request, which I also mentioned in my previous interview, that please do not ever criticize your kid in front of guests or people or in public. Absolutely not. You can appreciate them, but please don't criticize them in front of even the kid's sibling. That's not fair, and that will give a very wrong impression to anybody. So it should be done in private, in kids' room.
True. I'll just add on to that, ma'am. I think along with this, no comparison, not to compare with anybody. I think because every child is an individual, they carry their own talents. And yes, no comparison, absolutely not, even with the siblings, and especially with the friends and classmates, a big no.
Ma'am, it's a wow factor that you are understanding our deep feelings, hidden feelings. Thank you so much, really.
As a young parent, I understand, sometimes unknowingly we end up comparing, we end up criticizing. True. Even for a 4-year-old child, they don't want to be, called out in public and told, why did you spill the water? They would rather you did it alone. And they say, they say that you should treat your children with the same respect as you would treat another adult. I think if as parents we can learn to do that, I think we'll also fulfill our role as a parent much better. I hope that, as a parent myself, that even I can inculcate some of this advice and, kind of grow as an individual myself and probably help my child better in the problems they face.
Because, I think the easier, sorry, go ahead, Anurag.
Yeah, because, it's quite, eye-opening for me to see how these children are facing these issues and them not trusting their parents. It's, as a parent, it's kind of feels like somewhere we're also at fault. And I wish we could make effort from both ends to, probably find a middle path where, the children can feel comfort in talking to their parents. I would really wish for that.
And I'm glad that you are so aware and you are so willing to learn about it, because at the end, I think it's very important to remember that we are not raising or teaching our children. We are raising and teaching a human being. There is a difference between it. The moment we talk about, that children, and I can get upset, it's almost like possession. But when we talk about like that little 5-year-old or 15-year-old is a human being who's gaining knowledge from your behavior, your dialogues, your appreciation, your criticism, and building himself or herself up. You cannot have a damaged building and then expect building to just, continue to thrive or stay longer. Look what you are doing to it. Very important. So
Great advice. Great advice. I'm like, genuinely, this is an eye-opening session for me. I hope the students who are watching this and, they can probably show this to their parents and, we need to really work on this. We've got a flaw in our society. We really need to work on this.
Great.
Thank you. To our next volunteer.
So lastly, now I would like to ask Nandita ma'am again. Ma'am, students are anxious about the upcoming change from online education to offline school. How can they make themselves mentally strong?
Wonderful question, Aditya. I'm sure 1.5 years ago, when we were passing through these difficult times, oh my God, study from home had been, something which was unimaginable ever in our life. I don't think we had ever thought of this. Probably after another 10 or 15 years, we would have made this a reality. And this new normal was accepted. It became a normal for us. And now when the schools are reopening in the physical form, it's the same apprehension what you passed through a few months and more than a year ago, isn't it? So it needs a lot of self-care and self-motivation, self-regulation of emotions, and a lot of self-motivation. Believe me, having been within the four walls and the comfort zone of your homes, and most of the time of the video mode, yes, we didn't know what was happening behind the screen. And yes, and now to wake up a little early, now to go to school is a big challenge. And a lot of apprehensions from your parents, which is acceptable. Yes, it is obvious that, with the way things had gone wrong all over the world, and all of us as adults, yes, I have my children back at home, to send them back to, of course, he's a grown-up boy. So, sending him to physical form to work, I had my own apprehensions. As an adult, I did not face that. But when it came to the turn of my child, I am very apprehensive. The same is going through back at home. But yes, being very consciously taking care of oneself, because remember, you step out to the school, you are responsible for a lot of members back at home. So how you keep yourself safe from everything around you and be mentally very strong, and don't get carried away by the peer, and being very conscientious about every step that you take is very important. Yes, a lot of psychological counselors are there, and I'm very proud to say that I belong to an institution where health and wellness team is very strong. We've been conducting a lot of online orientations for the parents as well as the children, how to handle from the online to the offline. Okay, so it's a reverse role now. That's one. Yes, the younger kids probably will take a little more time, but it's the older kids, the middle school and upwards, has to mentally be prepared. And for that, a lot of intellectual growth is also important. You should know what is right and what is wrong. Okay, that it comes out when you consciously make an effort. Don't brush things aside. It's okay. Because often teenagers carry this, tagline, it's okay, fine, it's cool. It's actually not cool. And things to come back to normal depends on the youth of today. When often we say that you are the brand ambassador, be it for the school, be it for the nation, you're the brand ambassador of your family. Today, I term you as a brand ambassador of your family. So your family is not just the family members back at home. Your family is your classroom. Your family is your school. Your family is probably the bus that you travel. Your family is back at home, where you probably were on the online mode sometime. So that mentally being strong, conscientiously making an effort to regulate your everyday, steps that you take is very important. So I think offline again would be back. Online would still stay with us for some time. That hybrid would stay. And yes, you, the youth, the younger generation, need to be emotionally, socially, and intellectually be very, very strong to carry the baton along. Okay, that would be my one message. I hope, Aditya, that
Yes, ma'am, that was indeed
answers
a
your
broad
question.
and a yes, that was indeed a broad and a clear elucidation. And the children would really find it easy to cope up with the current situation as you have created a congenial way for them. And thank you so much again, dear man.
I really like how you've shown confidence in these teenagers, and how you've told them that they can take this responsibility of being safe. I like how you've shown that confidence, and I wish they show that same confidence in themselves, and follow all the norms for safely going back to school. I'm sure it's going to be tougher on a lot of
Yes.
emotional areas also, but I like how you've given them this responsibility and shown the confidence that they can actually take over this. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Over to you, Vidhi.
My last question is for Miss Melissa, ma'am. Once the student is in 10th grade, he or she is asked to pick a stream. And when the student is in 12th grade, he or she is asked to pick a career. A lot of students are forced by their parents or teachers to pick a particular subject or stream. So how can we convince them to let us choose what we want?
We were just discussing in the previous question about parents. And, my strong belief has been that parents generally have the best interest of their children in mind. Now, sometimes they use means and modes which may not seem very appealing. But the fact remains, and nobody can deny it, that your parent has your best interest. When they insist on certain choices, it is because they believe that it's going to secure your future. I'm a parent too, and I totally understand where parents come from. So as kids, when you all feel that your parents are forcing you all, let me remind you, children, that their interest is in mind. Now, the mode that they're using may not be right. So to parents, if you are listening, my suggestion would be, allow your children to choose an area of interest and passion, for their future studies. Because I believe that if that is what they select, they will go a long way in making a successful career. The last you want as parents is, that they take up something because it is making you happy, and midway they decide to give it up. Or even if they complete, they complete their university, they complete their post-graduation because of what you've told them to do, they may not really be happy, And somewhere we hear of all these mid changes that are happening. You do engineering and then you go on and take on something with, being a journalist and things like that. So I'm sure it's such a huge waste of time, energy, and resources. So parents, my suggestion is, give a listening ear. I know you have their best interest and you're worried for them. But if you listen to them, maybe, it'll be a different story. And at the same time, I want to encourage all the students who are there. And we've been saying this. I think the most critical point is what kind of communication channel you've been able to establish. Sometimes, as teenagers, that communication keeps breaking. You're very good when you're young, and then in between it breaks. And then, of course, it comes back. I'm a firm believer it comes back. But if it's not there, you take the first step. Go on and establish that. Because I think when you do that, when you tell your parent that, look, this is my area of interest, and this is the kind of research I have done to pursue it. And I can assure you, with this kind of research, this kind of preparedness, I am going to be successful. Now, the minute they hear your confidence, the minute they hear that you're so self-assured of the kind of work you have done, I'm sure they'll give in to the choice that you want to make. And if you still feel that your parents are not listening to you, my single simple advices. There are adults in the environment. Use them as your resource. Take your teacher along with you. Take your counselor along with you. Get, threesome. Convince your parent. But let this decision be one of collaboration. Let it be one of an informed choice. So that when you do your course of your choice, you take ownership for it. And you make your parent proud also and assured, because they want that peace of mind that you're going to have a secure, future. In the end, I think it is about communicating confidently and reassuring. I'm sure parents will agree when they see your confidence. This ability has also a very direct impact on all your future decision making and present, of course. So communicate well, you have it. Yeah, I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you so much, Emma. As a humanities student, I can relate to that a lot. Thank you so much for your answer.
Sure.
It's so nice to see, we've got principals, vice principal, we've got a counselor here, and we're all talking about bridging the gap between parent and children, giving responsibility to the child, for the children to see their strengths, self-awareness. I hope that, what we've started here, the ball that we've gotten rolling, the students and parents together will be able to keep it rolling, and we continue to talk about it. We continue to discuss and open these channels of communication. It has been a very interesting conversation. I would like to invite Mrs. Aarti Girdhar, our founder president of Anon Global Foundation, to share a vote of thanks. And
thank you very much. So 10th October is World Mental Health Day, and the theme of this year is mental health is in an unequal world. Mental health has come a long way since the early 90s, when this day was officially established to raise the awareness on mental health being and mobilize effort towards self-awareness and sensitivity to mental issues. While we have come to a better understanding that stigmatization can cause unintentional hurt and be detrimental to the growth, we still have to go a long way. There is still so much more we can do to evolve as a society and reach out to promote the mental health for all. And this holds especially true now after the pandemic, when the mental health issues have risen exponentially. Today, organizations like us, communities, and systems are coming together to lead campaign to spread this message and educate the cause. And I'm sure all the guests are there because they have that urge to inspire the society around. Anon Global Foundation continues to work toward its vision of a healthy and agile society that is ready to transform adversities into challenges. I am very much thankful to our esteemed speakers and Anon volunteers for joining us today in this endeavor. I'm sure the knowledge and insight shared by our panelists have surely made a difference to many young lives, encourage them to address their deep-rooted fears and anxieties, and instill hope in many others. I hope today's conversation has helped. Helped our viewers understand that limit exists only in mind, and that is what our slogan says for today's event. And by raising above self-limiting beliefs, they can discover their true and authentic self. By raising the above challenges, they can flourish. So on behalf of Team Anon, I once again thank Ms. Melissa Maria, Mrs. Nandita Sunkara, and Ms. Suruchi Saini for taking out time from their busy schedule to be with us today to further the cause of mental well-being. Thank you very much.
It's our pleasure being here. Thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you so much for wonderful work and those, I think, such out-of-the-box questions. Okay. the young Anon volunteers. Oh my God, you've done a wonderful work. And Anuradha, excellent moderator. Thank you so much. It was nice sharing the platform with you, Miss Suruchi and Miss Melissa Maria. Thank you.
So
Thank you, Aarti, for having us.
We have a video we made by our this volunteer of the month. So can we have the video, please?
Oh, that was lovely. Very nice. Very well said.
These students are our heroes.
Absolutely.
Very well expressed. Very well expressed.
So,
Yes.
I hope the audience will inculcate the valuable advice shared by our esteemed and extremely knowledgeable panelists. And I'm grateful to attend this event. Thank you so much to all of you. And thank you to our